Hello, everyone. Welcome to Odd Musings. We're in episode 411, and today's July 23rd, and we have Brett joining us from San Diego Comic-Con. How's it
Hey, what's
going,
going on,
Brett?
guys?
Yeah, we're up to episode 411 already.
Oh, yes, 411. I'm telling you, man, we got 9 more to go, and people are going to get, hi, y'all doing?
We'll have to get the smoke machines in for that episode.
Yeah, so, it's early out here. It's 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Hey, thanks.
Well, out here it's 10 a.m., which is when Santa's coming.
There's Kev.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, what's up?
How are you?
It's like the ladies' man. He got my Courvoisier. I'm ready to go.
Got coffee.
Yeah. So, come on in here. So, we'll all hang out and talk some fun stuff.
Yeah. So, every year, San Diego Comic-Con, that's the one that most people know about. It's the big one where a lot of releases come out, special exclusives, movie trailers, toy launches, all kinds of fun things are usually centered around San Diego Comic-Con, and Brett and Kevin are going to be out there. Now, tell everyone, if anybody's out that way and going to be there, tell people how to find you.
We're in small press at table M as in Mary 04.
M04.
Yep.
And is that by entrance D? Is that where it is to get to small press?
When you get into the main floor, we're kind of in the middle towards the back, and there's bathrooms on either side of where we're at, and there's a doorway there, a big doorway to go through to go out to the bay area there and upstairs. So we're kind of semi easy to find. Look for the Peanuts booth. Yeah, look for the Peanuts booth, and we're right behind it.
Yeah, for those people who don't know, the floor space is massive at San Diego Comic-Con. So typically Artist Alley is on the far left over by Hall H. You got to go all the way down. It's like a solid half-mile walk to get down there.
Yeah.
And then on the far right over by entrance A, you got typically it's like the collectible card companies and different things like that. But
yeah,
dead center there.
They're doing the anime video game stuff over that way a lot more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Small, different shows. We always joke. It's half of a joke, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's half real. The hardest thing to sell at a Comic-Con is a comic book. But San Diego Comic-Con has a great turnout for their small press section where a lot of independent comic book companies set up and sell their creations.
Yeah, we got some great people out there. The Forneys are set up there. Sean's over in Artist Alley, but Steph is set up in small press on aisle 2 behind us. I haven't seen if Enrica's here this year. I think she is. She usually is. And then
are they doing Hasm, Stephanie and them, or are they doing their?
They're doing just theirs. Yeah. Rodney and Tina are not here.
Okay.
Well, they partner up with Hasm. They're not actually Hasm. So.
Correct. I just didn't know if they were sharing or not.
No, actually, what they've got is they had the small press. Jamie Snell came out with them. You know Jamie from Art and Final First, stuff like that, and he's set up with them some artwork. He's done some covers. They've got the new Scarlet Huntress stuff out this year. They did the Kickstarter for. I know Sean's done a ton of sketch covers and other covers for other people, so he's gonna have a bunch of that. So that's what they've got going on. So, and then they're with Nate Lovett, who's actually over in Artist Alley. And Nate's done a bunch of work for different companies, but he's done like the Paw Patrol books. He's done a bunch of comics. I met him when he first did Zombies with an X, and that was with Devil's Due, I believe it was. That's been a long time ago. So he probably doesn't have anything of that anymore. So, but yeah, so they got there's a lot of people out there we know, which is great. So, and then Terry Huddleston should be floating around somewhere.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always a huge gathering out there. And then the outside of the show is just as much of a spectacle as inside.
Oh, God. Yeah, we were seeing them build everything yesterday. It's always interesting the first couple days because it just looks like mass chaos. There's just trucks everywhere and they're building. We parked right next to where they're building the bumper cars for Twisted Metal.
Oh, cool.
It's interesting to see all that stuff get built in such a short period of time. It's like a carnival from hell, but it's all.
Yeah. Yeah, they got a big Fantastic Four display going up. They have South Park out there. Yeah, South Park it's interesting. South Park, I saw some of the Mike Judge stuff. They have a big presence, at least on the display stuff out there.
There seems like a lot more outside this year. There's 3 giant, areas this year. I don't remember 3 that big last year.
No, I don't think since 2019
I don't think they've had anything that much. There's a lot going on, a lot more than pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Since pre-COVID.
I think this is the first show that they're going to be truly back to as large as they've been wanting to be since 2019.
Yeah, I think they're keeping a lot.
Yeah, because prior.
I think there's going to be some surprises this year too, because there's some.
Yeah.
There hasn't been as many announcements, and I'm like, it just seems odd. They haven't announced anything specific for Fantastic Four. I still think there's going to be something that pops up.
Yeah.
Well, when's D23? When does that happen, Brett?
It varies.
Will that be before Fantastic Four comes out this year?
No. What's going on with D23 though? They are doing for the D23 members exclusive screenings. They made a big deal about the one here in San Diego, but at the same time, that was only because some people were posting it wrong. It's all over the country. They've got multiple signings, and you just have to sign up for the city closest to you. And that's going to be happening on Thursday. Varies on times, but usually around like 12 or 1 o'clock, they're doing the showings.
I could see a big surprise happening at that showing, though.
Yeah, and Marvel, even for Hall H, Marvel doesn't have much of a thing on it. I believe they are doing something, but they haven't announced what. So we don't know if it's going to be Fantastic Four, maybe they're going to bring the cast in. They haven't really gotten to that. Last year, with the Deadpool Wolverine, they did the exclusive screening here at San Diego on preview, or not preview, Thursday night, which that was previewed around the country too. But here was a special screening. They gave away a couple things, and when people walked out, they did this big giant drone show that promoted Fantastic Four and Galactus coming in.
Okay.
So I don't know. We'll see. I think it's going to be a few drops. There's been more and more stuff they added to the panels for Hall H in just the last couple days. At least revealed, I should say. They've known they're coming in. Joel, who's with us, he's in the other room. He's looking forward. He's going to go try to get in Hall H on Friday to do the Tron panel.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Yeah, they'll bring out the cast. There'll be some exclusive videos of that. So it should be pretty cool.
Yeah, I gotta imagine they're going to do something, especially if D23 is not going to happen before Fantastic Four comes out. Because sometimes they save stuff for D23, but without that, this is where they like to premiere stuff.
Yeah,
I mean the movie comes out Thursday, so expected. I mean, it was always coming out this weekend. We've always assumed there's going to be some kind of big something here. I mean, they've got the giant. I don't know what that they're building out there for Fantastic Four. A big obstacle course or something that has ramps.
It looks like a portal.
Portals. Yeah, to go. I think they might go through the different worlds.
Yeah, and probably has some. They may have some stuff set up like props and costumes.
But I mean, it's taking up that entire area in front of the Hilton. You know how big that area is.
Yeah.
And so to have that much going on and not do anything doesn't make sense.
Right.
Just doesn't. So
yeah,
I think it'll be a fun surprise on one of these days that everyone will like. And I think Comic-Con's getting back to kind of its old grand gestures that they were doing pre-COVID.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what always showed the best.
Yeah. Now I looked it up real quick. D23 is going to be at the end of August, but typically with that they do very few reveals. Some of it's like, here's what we're doing like a couple years out. But a lot of D23 is also tied into what's going on at the Disney parks, a little bit of Disney Plus. So it's more than just big launches for movies and that.
Right.
That's where they announced like when they were doing Galaxy's Edge originally, and this next one they're going to talk about. We already know it's coming to Disney World. Is a new Cars area which they closed down part of Liberty Square, got rid of the riverboat. They draining the water and fill that area in and build a new Cars land. Different than the one at Disneyland or California Adventure. So they're probably going to talk more about that, and that's still probably 2 years out before it's completed. And then they got a few other things they're working on with the villains area. So I think that's going to be their focus, because they're doing it at the Disney's Coronado Springs Resort at Walt Disney World. So I think it's going to be a lot of Walt Disney World updates, which they're moving faster with that since Epic opened at Universal. now they've got to make their big show of everything.
It's going to be in Florida this year.
Yeah, it does go between a couple places.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was always out here in California. That's cool.
Yeah, they bounce it around a little bit, and being at Coronado Springs, this is going to be the double the size from previous events. So I mean, the D23 event's not nowhere near the size, of course, Comic-Con here. I would say even Motor City Comic-Con is bigger than what the D23 is. They don't have a huge vendor floor. It's mostly all the
they're more about the media streaming, and it's the
Yeah.
announcements that's going out through the internet and news
Yeah.
outlets.
It's like a giant Hall H, basically. They have exclusive
Yes.
space you can buy, but it's all Disney approved. So there's not going to be any just Joe Schmo dealer or Joe Schmo
Right,
artist or
right.
anything, unless they bring someone in special that's a Disney artist that'll have an exclusive there that's tied into what they're doing. So
Well, similar to San Diego, having it in a place like that can draw in people. If you have it in a big enough place where people that happen to be at the park be like, hey, well, cool, I can go. And you know what I mean?
You can't do it. You have to be a D23
You have to
member.
be a D23
Yep.
member. Okay.
And you have to buy the tickets, and they're already sold out. They sell out as fast as San Diego does.
See, now I think that's the thing. Like trying to get it to a bigger place. Like the biggest gripe about San Diego has always been, keeping it here, which I can understand why they keep it in San Diego. But this convention center is a third of the size of the one in Las Vegas.
Right.
And they could sell out the entire Las Vegas convention center for Comic-Con if it was there, which would mean another, what would that be? Another 500,000 people?
Probably, yeah.
But they want to keep it here. And I understand that. But that's the only downside of it is we already heard it yesterday. We went to a couple places just north of here hanging out. And they're like, yeah, I've lived here 25 years, never went to Comic-Con. Yeah, I've been here for 30 years, never been to Comic-Con. Because they can't get tickets. They just, it's not an event that the locals are just people like, I'm curious, but I'm not going to go through the hell it is to get tickets.
Well, we saw that with the special edition in 21, because basically just tickets were available, and it wasn't packed and sold out. So we had people coming up. They were like, yeah, we never get to come. So this is cool. We get to check out this Comic-Con here, and I live 5 minutes away.
Which is why I always wondered why they don't do a winter show, just something that size. It would make sense that they do it.
They do the WonderCon.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think the biggest mistake that happened was, and it wasn't their fault, and it wasn't even the ones that sold it, because they didn't know it was. They didn't realize either one would want to do that. But when Fan Expo bought MegaCon, I found out afterwards. San Diego had reached out to Beth Christine and said, "Hey, we would have bought the show because they wanted those presents, but they don't want to go to New York, New York Comic Con." And it was one of the things where it was just like nobody's communicating, and that's I think the only thing with San Diego is as much as I like coming out here doing the show is sometimes their communication is very lacking. So
they're such a huge machine.
Yeah.
The other problem they have is, I mean, nobody knows them as Comic-Con International unless you're an artist and a vendor.
Right.
No one knows them as that. So it's kind of hard to reestablish the San Diego Comic-Con in Vegas or in Florida. They're not known by their true name.
Yeah, they're known as San Diego Comic-Con or Comic-Con. And as we've found out people when they go, "Oh, have you done Comic-Con?" Like, which one? Comic-Con, and then you find out they're actually talking about Motor City Comic-Con, and then not San Diego,
right.
And then, or they're talking about San Diego and not Motor City, or one of those like that, because the name is the Comic-Con name is just like Xerox and Kleenex. It's just a name that's used everywhere, even if it's not legally allowed.
Well, I think
it's become public use.
Yeah,
I've always thought they would keep the show here and maybe do a second show in a bigger venue.
Yeah, they're scheduled to be here through 27.
Yeah.
So I was looking at it. That was this year. They seem to have to renew this deal every few years with the city and everything else. The city and the state don't really want them to go because it's a lot of tax revenue, and even with giving they're a nonprofit, but giving them all kinds of breaks to still be here is one of the things that they want, because they realize that even though they get about 125,000 attendees every day, and in and out between all the exhibitors and people that just hang out outside. Because a lot of people go and hang out outside but not come in. Like the picture there of the cosplayers. Probably over half of them don't even have badges. They just show up in costume and hang out outside. So there's literally starting Thursday will be about 500,000 people a day in this small gas
Correct.
plant district,
Right.
and that is a lot of money
That's
being
a lot
spent,
of money for them.
revenue. So they don't want to lose that, because if they lost that, and we've heard this from people in the years past. Comic-Con week, there's some businesses that they make their nut this week, and it's their year.
We went to that little bakery, and she said she makes more this week than the other 51 weeks combined. This one week,
it's their whole year is this one
entire
week.
year, and I'm like, that can't be. But we've heard that. I think back when Scott and I were walking around one year, even someone else told us that, and that was one of my first years, and I was just in awe. And that was when Comic-Con was in full swing. It was just swinging for the fences every year with all the things going on, and it was like I was a kid in a camp. And it was an amazing just to come into the town and feel the energy and the vibe. There's nothing like San Diego and Comic-Con. It is a beast of its own. I understand New York now gets bigger numbers, but I don't think it comes close to the prestige or the just the aura that this kind of show puts off.
New York, I believe Javits Center is bigger than the San Diego one in terms of the main floor. But they get like 150,000 compared to 125. I think San Diego still draws a lot more people, because again, there's tons of people that you see posts like, "I'll be there, but I don't have a badge. I'm going to come hang out."
Yeah, they
free, and there's a lot of stuff outside you can do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Whereas Javits, you don't really have anything outside, and the attendees that are there for the weekend. San Diego, they that 100,000 they get each day, it's like 500,000 for the weekend or more, because a lot of those people only have a 1-day pass or a 2-day pass because the way they do the passes. But also a percentage of the overall income for the city is much higher for San Diego Comic-Con versus New York.
Right.
What New York Comic-Con generates money-wise is a drop in the bucket compared to the total money generated for the city.
Very good point.
Whereas San Diego, it's huge. Here last year, local San Diego news, they reported they were estimating 164 million was going to be generated from last year's Comic-Con for San Diego. And they did some stats. They have 14,000 rooms get booked that weekend, over 60 with more than 60 different hotels. And they go through and talk about the impact on restaurants and different things. So I remember when they signed the deal last time, like, it's such a big deal. There was a vote between giving money to, if I remember correctly, San Diego Chargers needed money for their stadium or to keep San Diego Comic-Con, and they voted to keep San Diego Comic-Con.
Yep.
Because it generates so much.
And that's why the Chargers went to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
they would rather lose an NFL team than this one weekend show.
Yeah, because it really generates not just money for a sports team at their facility. It's spread throughout the entire Gaslamp downtown district here, and they could spread it out even more if they wanted to, and they do enough around this area, that area there. But to compare to anything else, the closest that came to wanting to do it, but I knew they could never pull it off for two reasons: was management and then heat. Phoenix, when they got huge and were drawing in 100,000 people really quick, they wanted to spill out outside. And the last year you and I did it together. They had all kinds of food truck rallies. They had stuff going on outside.
But it was 120 degrees.
Yeah, 120 degrees outside. And I went out there, got food, and came back in, and there was nobody out there. And then the problem with that show,
there was also,
they layered it too much in the convention center where it's 3 floors, and they put all the draw, which is the celebrities, up top, and then the entire main floor is in the basement, and they put all the fan groups on the second floor. And people, we finally saw some people that were like, we didn't realize this was down here, and it was because of the way they ran it, and that kind of screwed up that whole vibe too.
Well, part of that too was we had that. What was it?
The attempted shooting?
A guy with a gun or a bomb or something.
Yeah.
And he got through the outer layer of security. He didn't make it to the inner layer. Yeah. But when you start doing outdoor stuff like that, that's spreading through a city, security becomes a nightmare.
Yeah.
I
think
it becomes very hard to control.
Yeah, if they were ever trying to do Vegas on a bigger scale, because there's smaller shows there. One is they're gonna have to figure out a time that would coincide that doesn't compete. I mean, that's the hard problem is there's so many shows around the country. We talk about this with the Michigan alone, but when you got San Diego in July, you've got October is typically New York. When do you do Vegas? You want people to come and be able to enjoy stuff. And then now with Vegas, with all the sports stuff, realistically with football, starting August through January now, is not easy to schedule conventions because of the fact that there's so much going on with football. It's only 9 games, but it really jacks up most of that time around it because they, with flights, hotels, stuff like that. And I think it's where Vegas is really putting a lot of their money is in the sports now.
Yeah,
because of sports betting.
But that's luring a lot of other conventions to come to Vegas because they got people that will double dip.
Yeah.
They know they can go to sporting events.
Yeah.
My next
the hard
work is in late January, early February, first week in February. So the week before the Super Bowl is my big show this year, and it just so happens to be the first year I've ever done this metal show. Not like good metal. Yeah. This is the first year I've ever seen. They're taking the entire convention center in Vegas. Now, both
which is huge.
sides, I have never seen that. That is double the size it has ever been in Vegas, which means it is 4 times the size of this Comic-Con.
Yeah.
It is insanity.
Oh yeah.
To think of they're taking that much space.
And that's the other thing is, while Comic-Con would draw a ton of people in, and they could do some stuff in Vegas, but they get shows like your metal show. There's a lot of industry conventions that take up a lot of space,
and that's the
that
biggest thing
the convention centers make more money on than they would Comic-Con.
Yeah. So Comic-Con.
And that's
that's
why Comic-Con. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. That's why Comic-Con for us. This is such a higher. There's nothing like this in New York. Everything is pairs in comparison. Maybe Chicago, right? But when it's competing against these industry shows, they're still maybe cracking the top 100. I mean, these industry shows, then that's where the real money is for these convention centers. And that might be one of the real reasons why Vegas fell through, because for San Diego, this Comic-Con is like everything.
Yeah.
In Las Vegas, they're like, you might make the top 20 shows of the year as far as money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal for them, but they're not going to move the earth to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, plus to do July in Vegas, all the outdoors, we're dealing with the heat. You're looking at, again, 100 to 110 degree heat or more.
It'd have to be spring. It'd be April.
Yeah, March, April would be the only time really to do it properly. But even then, they don't have too much stuff outside because there's not a lot of room outside the convention center other than parking. And then you get into all the casinos and the hotels. And I mean, the hotels around it would probably all jump on board, but what could they do?
That's the other thing. You mentioned that they have now, even for this show, they now take the parking lot too. They set up tents in Vegas because of the time of year. They set up tents in the parking lot and set up giant displays.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I saw that, and that blew my mind. But then I'm thinking, we were leaving. It was in January.
Yeah.
We were leaving. I went to a horror convention. I went to Days of the Dead, and Brandy and I were driving by the convention center, and there was a big welding show going on, and they had giant displays out in the parking lot. And I'm like, she's like, I can't believe they're doing that. I'm like, well, we're wearing hoodies and we're cold. Yeah. And I'm reminding her, she goes, I guess you're right. The weather's not that bad. So as long as you're covered out of the sun, you could pull it off. And so I was just like, okay, where are they having everyone park? That parking lot is ginormous. Yeah. And it was full.
Well, you got a couple things you got to deal with Comic-Cons though. And I think this is why most Comic-Cons around the country, we always have the crap time of year for when we're scheduled. That's why we're in the middle of 120 degree weather in Arizona or wherever, because those big industry shows, they're paying for the trips for their employees, and they want to go when the weather's good.
Right.
So the Comic-Cons are able to negotiate deals at a more affordable price. So we're not paying $1,500 as an artist to set up for a small table.
Yeah.
We're getting the crap time of year. Yeah. And so that's where it is all around the country, is we always get the crap time.
June, July is the bad time of year for Vegas.
Yeah.
And that's usually
for Vegas, right.
Las Vegas Comic-Con always was, but and that's why the smaller I don't think my opinion in Vegas, it was when they had the show and they had it out at like a casino, like a destination type of convention. When it was out at South Point, when they had the Amazing Comic Con, it was fantastic. It was,
but that's a tiny show in comparison to other Comic Cons.
Right.
true. But when they used that entire top area, that was a medium-sized Comic Con. That was, and they grew it. I mean, they had Jim Lee and Stan Lee there one year. They had a good-sized sales floor, and people would just show up in one place, park for free, and wander around. And then, hey, we're a little bored. Just go downstairs. There's 10 restaurants. Yeah. Oh, look, there's a 10-screen movie theater.
Yeah.
That kind of idea to get people to come out, because you're not going after you're not going after people flying in. You're going after the locals.
Right.
The other shows, the convention centers are going after, bringing people in. And that's what a Comic-Con of this size, if you move San Diego, would bring people in internationally. But a smart business decision, I think, would be to go for that medium level and aim for your locals. And they don't want to go downtown. They don't want to go to the convention center.
Yeah.
They'll go.
Well, and that's why South Point works so well for that type of show.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's other
events that worked great. But like you were mentioning how, like with that other one, like they were setting up in the parking lot, and where do they do the parking? Well, that's targeting a business crowd. Yeah, they're flying in. They don't have their cars and families with them. They're on the company credit card, so they can pay for Ubers or whatever.
All the hotels.
Yeah, you've got the Westgate on the one side. You've got all the hotels across the street down going through the other side. And there's a tram there you can take cover several hotels.
Yep.
And you can even stay way out on the strip and take one tram one way, hit another one coming the other way, just crossing the street. And sometimes you don't even have to leave the actual convention or the hotels. They all connect just about.
Yeah.
So there's all that stuff going on there.
But even when we do that show in February, we're staying out at South Point. As far as a business decision,
South Point's such a great location.
Yeah, I get to make the decision, so I'm biased. But
and they have a good shuttle service that takes you to the strip.
Yeah, you can do that. But I tell you, we've stayed at the Link, where you literally can go back and get on the tram and go to the convention center. And we've stayed at South Point to drive in and do the show. I'd rather stay at South Point. I think it's easier. And quite frankly, it's probably, even after renting a car and paying for parking, it probably still ends up being about, for my company to fly out 5 people, it's probably $1,000 cheaper at the end of everything to stay at South Point instead of on the strip.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it.
It's like, 15, 20 minutes tops with driving in? It's not very far.
Yeah, it's not far.
Yeah, and it's so much more relaxing.
Yeah.
And then you're off the strip, and then you go out to dinners and stuff. It's half the cost.
Yeah.
It's all those
for me
add up.
Yeah, for me, I don't even want to stay on the strip anymore. To me, it's claustrophobic. It has so grown down there. It's insane.
Yeah. I'll take it in small doses.
Yeah.
Just small. If I go somewhere, I want to go a few places, and then we've always ended up back at Fremont Street now, which, by the way, Fremont Street has come a long way.
Yeah.
It is so much different. If you haven't been to Fremont Street in 5-6 years, you won't recognize it.
Yeah.
It is 100% different. And they're doing more and more every year to make that more of a destination.
Yeah, it's not just old Vegas anymore. They built the Cirque there. They've been updating all the casinos and everything around it.
Those zip lines that go through.
Yeah, they've had that for a while, but even that, they're upgrading all that stuff. And I haven't been in a few years, but it's when we were there the last time I was there with Kevin, it was great seeing that everything had opened up at that point that they had been building, and then now they're.
It almost feels like more of an attraction now.
Yeah,
the whole place attraction.
They're building another hotel back around where the Circa is on that end, where the Plaza. The Plaza is one of the most famous hotels down there.
Yeah,
and that's where I did the last horror show because they have a decent sized convention center, and it was okay. Don't get me wrong, but it is very dated. The new hotel they're building supposedly is going to have a convention center. So if they pull that off and that becomes the convention center, I think in 5 years you're going to have a big difference down there on Fremont Street when you have a convention center that will hold. It'll be twice the size of what that one at South Point was. Yeah. So that's
also being
down there.
being in Fremont, the locals can access it easy. Was that
And
the
they'll
north
go.
side of? They can easily access it from, and they can go avoid the downtown strip and access it from the other side.
Yeah, the downtown strips has become so much more touristy, and that's where people hear that. Oh, that's where we want to go because that's where the action is supposedly, and it's big. I mean, and the thing is that every time I've been there, I'm like, I wasn't, not impressed, but same time I wasn't impressed. I was like, yeah, it's big, it's kind of cool here and there, but after a while, it all felt the same, just a slightly different theming. But down in Fremont Street, the last time down there, I like that because they have smaller stuff there too, but they have the bigger stuff. So it's a nice blend of everything, and you do get that classic Vegas feel with updated amenities now. And the only problem is Banger Brewery and with Banger Brewery gone, it sucks.
We lost our brewery.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that place was
that's
great.
where they also have that Thai restaurant down in that area that
we
brought us to.
Yeah, that's on.
That was really good there.
If you go to Inner Fremont Street, where the Heart Attack Cafe, it's actually heading the opposite way across the street. I think it's the El Cortez Hotels over there.
So. Yep.
That's one of the really old places that's still there, and they're not changing that. But that Thai place was really good. It's probably, I would say, top 3 Thai restaurants I've ever been to.
Well, if you got to the end of Fremont Street, and Scott, you'll remember this. If you got to the point where the Heart Attack Grill and where the end of the Slotzilla, where the zip lines ended, there was that main road. Then after that, you saw a few businesses, but then it just there's nothing more.
Yeah.
Right? Now Fremont Street pretty much goes for another 2 blocks of like actual things they've redone. So it keeps stretching out further.
Well, they had that container area over there.
And then the container area is now 2 blocks over. And I always felt like it's so far away from Fremont Street. And I walked to it last time, like, oh, look, the container thing. And didn't even think about it because things are starting to continue. So they're stretching that out too. Yeah. And I think it's going to become as much of a destination for potentially for a show, or that's where most of the locals are going to want to go. They don't want to go to the Strip.
Well, with a new hotel building, convention center, it's a great way to actually you get that inclusive. I think for Vegas, especially if you're staying where the convention is, it's just a great feeling of when you, and it's just like the hotel shows we've done where you're staying at a hotel and the show's there, and you can just go up and down. You don't have to really go outside, but when you do, you're going to do something else. Yeah. But you're not always traveling to the convention. It's just there.
Right.
It's a big difference and builds that kind of synergy. We see that with the horror shows.
Yeah.
Things like that. People talk about like the Twisted show they always have in Michigan. People like staying right there because it's just an all day thing.
Yeah.
And then for us that are set up there after we're done with the show, we're kind of like, I'm going to leave for a bit and go grab something, but we can come back. And it's nice to be able to. And you're talking about this horror show. It's like, I'm going to wake up and go right downstairs and do my show. And, I feel like a drink. I'm going to go upstairs, give me a drink, come back down.
To walk out your hotel door, get in the elevator, go down 2 floors, walk out, and I'm 15 feet from my table. And I go and sit down like, hi. I leave 5 minutes before the show starts. And that's fantastic.
So that's where you want to just put on your hat. You put on your robe, your fuzzy slippers, and just go down and do the show.
Yeah. But there is something about the convenience of that is a sell to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Even locals would be like, hey, that's cool. I want to go down there. Oh, I might stay down there just because then I can just hang out. I think a lot more people would do that.
Yeah.
Plus, in that factor, the hotels are half the cost of anything on the Strip. Because even if it's not the sale price, it's the amenities and the
they're going to make their money up on if you're staying at the hotel in Vegas, and they're going to make their money on the food and the gambling, and especially the gambling, because people are like go down there. So they're like, I never gamble. I'm just here for the show, whatever. There's a lot more they're gambling, and they're dropping big money. Show's done at 7, and we do. Let's go down and gamble and grab some drinks. Next they're dropping $200, $300, $400.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that Vegas has set up that dwarfs anything San Diego will ever be able to do: hotels and infrastructure. And the way that the amount of hotel rooms available within a 0.3 mile radius of that convention center is 10 times what is available here in San Diego, which is always a problem here. It's also why we're staying in a house 6 miles north.
Yeah.
But I mean, we like this better. Don't get me wrong, But if there was a hotel downtown that we'd have this much space and we could be just walk downstairs and then go to the show, we would do it.
Yeah.
But you can't.
Oh yeah,
Well, we could, but I don't want to spend $400 a night.
Well, that's the thing.
that's what. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Vegas, it wouldn't change because you have the ranges of hotels that are right around there. That within a 0.3 miles, you would go and stay somewhere inexpensively enough that would draw those people. There's so many rooms.
Yeah, the problem with Vegas, though, is, I mean, the layout I saw proposed, it would cover many different casinos and hotels. It'd be spread out, and I don't know if I would like that.
Well, I think that's what's going to draw it there. But I think
but as a vendor, I think it'll suck because no one will see you.
But think about it, it's the same thing as here in San Diego. You've got so many people that come out every year, at least 100,000. This is probably a lot higher. Probably 100,000 people show up in this week in San Diego, never have a ticket, who never even have the opportunity to see.
No, but the people inside see you. Whereas like Dragon Con, you're off to the side in some other location, and it's
well, Dragon Con's changed a lot though. They still do some hotel stuff. They consolidated into a convention center more, just for that reason. Right. The hotels got older there, and they did renovations. They moved to the convention center for the main vendor hall. I think now there's still stuff in some of the hotels, but even that one. You know, when I did Dragon once, and people they got around, but that's more of a hangout show than anything. Yeah. And they sell tickets for 50,000 people. They're not going to sell any more than that for Dragon Con because even the locals that in Atlanta don't even want to go to Dragon Con.
Yeah, I'm just saying if they do what they proposed in the past, which maybe it would change now because of how big these other convention centers are that are popping up. If the vendors end up separated, it's going to die for the vendors.
Well, the main area would still have to be where everything is and all the celebrities. So, like, if that's where I think the advantage of like a Fremont Street would happen, and it'd be more of a main area. But each of these hotels could have the same thing they have like here, like the Plaza would be Marvel Station. You know, the Circa would be the Fantastic Four, or over here is the horror. You know, and you're all within that Fremont Street walking. Because you park wherever you want, and then you Fremont Street, you go to these different. I think that would be an ideal situation, and I would think that some convention, something is going to look at that and dive in. If it's not a Comic-Con, I really think either one of these big horror shows is going to take a swing.
I could see that. I could see the horror shows doing for sure.
I really think someone will, because even here. The Hilton this year is Shudder.
Yeah.
It's the Clown in the Cornfield. Shudder bought the entire Hilton out and is doing an experience. That's insane. That's huge.
Yeah.
For Shudder. And I didn't realize Shudder's numbers and viewership
it's up there.
Is through the roof over the last 2 years. They can produce content so inexpensively and original content that they're bringing a lot more people back into horror and look at the movies and everything. I mean, Sinners is one of the top movies of the year. It costs like $12-15 million to make. You know, some of the shift to where horror is becoming a more mainstream and you're bringing in a lot more fans. It's not out of this world to think that a horror show someone is going to bump up into this category where it's going to be the size of there's not a horror show out there other than Spooky down in Florida, which really doesn't translate to much more than a medium to maybe a large show. And that's the biggest one in the country. You have something like that in Vegas that doubles the size of that. I think you get the people that come out, especially if you bring out experiences.
I think get the studios involved like San Diego does here.
Exactly.
I mean, you've got like Blumhouse, you've got A24, you've got other major studios. They can come out and do all this setup like they do here, where it's experiences, exclusives, panels, announcements. Like that. They could draw. I mean, at least 50,000, but they could probably draw 100,000 people to the show easily.
Yeah.
But it's like even here though, it's like the spread out. It's convention center in Las Vegas is huge. I mean, they expanded it a few years back.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of room inside to do everything. You never have to leave. But if you set it up where half of it is here's the ticketed area, and the other half could be just experiences just to draw people in.
Yeah.
I mean, they try to do that. But even here, it's just grown so much. They've added, Hall H is always the big hall. Everybody talks about it. It's the infamous one everybody wants to go to. But if you look at the panels, there's a lot of good stuff in Ballroom 20, which they've had for the last several years. They added over at the Hilton, I believe it is, Hilton or Hyatt, right by the convention center. It's Hyatt, yeah. Indigo Ballroom has a lot of big name panels going on.
Yeah.
Studio stuff, things like that.
And you have to have a pass. You have to have a badge
Yep.
to go to it still.
Yeah, and in the
it's
hotels,
off-site.
yeah, it's off site. And then I did notice several years ago, and I noticed the last couple of years, there's stuff in the hotels when you walk in, they will say if you don't have a badge, you can't go past this point. And sometimes they won't even let you in the buildings anymore without a badge, unless you're staying there and have a room key. But you go into their breakout rooms and things like that. It's like you've got to have a badge on, you got to show it.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone. There's some that there's free panels out there you can find here and there. But for the most part, you have to have a badge, and they want you to tap in and tap out to get near that area.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I've been thinking in my mind. I believe like Blumhouse, that's doing so many of these horror movies. I think they pop up with their own convention.
I can see
I
that.
really think that the amount they're making, and Ethan Hawke's really behind that.
Yeah.
I mean, he started out with The Purge, and then he's made his money back 100-fold.
Yeah.
And everything they're putting out is a hit. But again, you're making a movie for $12 million. You only have to make $25 million, and you're a huge success.
And most of these horror,
Well, also,
they're like, dude, I've doubled my money,
Yeah.
and I made a movie.
Also,
in 3 months.
the horror fan base is a very loyal fan base too. It's a
Insanely
very
loyal.
enthusiastic fan base.
And more
so-
forgiving. We're more forgiving. You can make 3 crappy movies, 3 crappy Hellraisers, and then you make a good one. We're like, we're back in. We're good. We forgive you.
Well, I think part of it is because horror movies traditionally have been more on the lower budget side.
Yeah.
Fans they haven't gotten spoiled with high-end special effects, and it's more practical. It's more using lighting and
now they're better
tricks like that.
It's
Yeah.
better storytelling.
Yeah, look at Blumhouse. Everything Blumhouse is doing has really solid stories.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Megan 2.0 yet,
But
but everything I heard, everything is very good. And they went a different direction from the first one. They tried to make it more action comedy mixed in with some of the slight horror. Instead of sticking with the initial part they did, it's like recreating that. They're changing it enough to want you to come back and say, oh, what are they doing different? And just the trailer alone, when they had the voice for Megan and the little robot thing, and like, okay, I need my body, and of course because the actress that played her played Megan grew up a little more, and I need longer legs. I thought that was such a great line to throw in the trailer to explain the fact that this Megan was going to be taller than the first one, but it's the same girl inside.
And that movie already before in the first, I think it's out of the theaters now. I think in the first 3 weeks, it tripled the money it made. It cost to make it.
Yeah, it just went on. But I think it's still in the theaters, but it's on demand now. You can rent it.
Well, there was another key aspect of what they did. They made it PG-13.
Yeah. And
Same with Five Nights at Freddy's. They understand that there is a demand out there where teenagers are liking this stuff.
Yeah.
They can actually make more money by just a slight toning down. It's not much. Just a little bit of toning down will expand your base.
A little bit of the violence, but a lot of it is just the language.
Yes.
F-bombs, you get 1 for PG-13. Anything more than that, you get 2. If you want to see a great example, you got to watch Be Cool with John Travolta. Because they talk about that at the beginning. He goes, what's the difference between a PG-13 artist? What's how many times you say fuck? And he goes, well, what do you think about that? Well, fuck that. So he got his R rating in the first 5 minutes. And that's before they get anything else. And really, Be Cool, if you watch, is not a violent movie. It's not a graphic sex movie or anything else. It's the language that made it rated R.
Yeah.
But toning down the language some allows them to do that with these movies. And like I said, it gets more butts in the seats when you can have a PG-13 and you can have 13, 14, 15-year-olds being dropped off at the movie theater and mom and dad don't have to go in.
And this is where...
And I would argue it's even better to go after the PG-13 because it forces you to rely more on your writing than it does. You can make really good... World War Z was a great zombie film that was not an R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was intense, suspenseful. It got you into it. And I think if you don't rely, so I think people got used to just relying, just like now watching on streaming. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And it's like,
Right.
oh, we can say as many F-bombs as we want now. Well, you still need good dialogue.
Right.
Just because you have 10 F-bombs doesn't mean it's now good.
And it's a business model. Either it's the shock and awe, you want like super gory movies. That's like that you're going for that. But then you have, like Blumhouse again. They're going back and making some sequels to some of the movies they made. They made these movies that went out and that were successful. Some were very successful. Some were just okay. We have like a Black Phone that came out right around COVID.
Yeah.
You know, they released that. It did okay. But the streaming was like great. People watched it, and everyone referred to that movie as a great movie. It's a wonderful movie. They're coming out with the second one, and it looks absolutely friggin' terrifying and amazing. It is going to kill in the box office because they got 5 years of buildup from people that have watched it streaming now. Now people are going to go and watch that sequel in the theaters. They're getting their return on investment 5 years later because they're making a good sequel. Yeah. Megan 2 is a good example of that. They're going to do It Follows 2.
And they're doing the Five Nights at Freddy 2 comes out in December. And because it's now past COVID time, things like that, they're really making a push for it this year. Mm-hmm. And they're definitely going probably a little more intense, but again, not going to hit that R. They want that PG-13 because they want these. They're now all teenagers. So I remember when it came out, there's all these little kids, 6, 7, 8 years old, didn't play the game, but they're like watching the YouTube videos. Now they're all teenagers. Right. So they're gonna go see this movie,
and they're gonna drag their friends.
Yep, and that's gonna be
films. And what people need to understand is, at the end of the day, movie making is a business, and people put their money into it to get a return. And you put your money into a movie that costs you $30 million to make, and you make $300 million at the box office. You made 10 times your money. Yep. Whereas you put you do $500 million into a super budget movie, and it makes $700 million. You only made $200 million.
And it takes 5 years.
So your return is
5 years later.
Yes.
Instead
not to mention the amount of advertising I do, you probably actually lost money doing $700 million. Whereas the horror movie, how much advertising do they do? Not much, really, because the horror fan base will show up.
Yep.
You know, and
my kids said the best example. They wanted to go see Terrifier 3, which, by the way, they let them buy the tickets online and go. And they're all 17, just so you know. Which I'm like, sure, whatever. And I'm like, for me, I like watching these horror movies. I'm like, I don't want to be in public and watch that. Just, and the kids are like, are you kidding? That's why we want to go. We want to see everyone squirm.
Yeah.
They're going not only to watch the movie, they're going for the experience of being in a room together with those people to see them squirm.
Yeah.
And I think that's angle. These kids want to go back into the theaters and watch these horror movies so they get the jump scares with everybody else.
They're starting to understand a little bit of what we knew going back. It's the experience to go to a theater with the collective more than just sitting at home watching.
Yep. They said it's way more fun to go watch a horror movie in the theaters, and I'm like, that hit home. That made sense.
Yeah, it's the jump scares. It's the oohing and awing from everyone else at the same time.
You can make fun of your friends if they jumped. That's what the neighbor kid goes. I just want to make fun of your son when he jumps at every scare. And I'm like, go for it, Or when he turns away when they like saw the girl in half, and Bray's like, nope. I think that's gonna bring some of that back. And some of the big comic book movies, and that's really what sold it. They were fun, they were good, but you wanted to go and figure and see it and experience it. Think about Endgame.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to go and see that. And the roar of the crowd when, Captain America got Thor's hammer. And just
everyone cheered.
Experiences, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And my kids mentioned that. And I think that brought that love of going and seeing that with a group back. And I think horror movies have tapped into that and realized, hey, we've got something here. You hook them with some of the movies and stuff, and then we'll release, and all they have to do is a third, if not a quarter of what any other movie does, and they're successful.
Yeah, and that's where Blue really is. They're cultivating that little fan base, and it's growing bigger and bigger. They're not trying to get this huge mass, we want 200 million the first weekend. Like, we want to build a fan base that's going to be here
Yep.
year after year, movie after movie.
Right.
And they're doing something different. Oh, let's go check that out. And that's going to truly
Right.
open up.
And
They're creating a fan base for their brand, not for a franchise.
Right.
And
So when they release a
that's-
new film, people want to see it still.
That's their investment instead of dumping all the money into advertising.
Right.
They're putting out a good movie or several good movies instead, and they just have to break even with 3 of them. But if 2 of them take off, I mean, they probably did that. They put so many movies out. They probably put out 5 movies and 3 of them just broke even. Great. But 2 of them made $80 million on a $15 million budget. You still
Exactly.
5 movies made a crap ton of money, a great profit, and you roll that, and they quietly rolled
And
that.
that's how $100 million movie is actually better than a $500 million movie as far as box office totals.
Comparison is, look at the new Superman. I just looked up the numbers. It was a huge drop, 70% from weekend to weekend. That's a big drop. As much people love the movie, like I said, I saw it once, don't need to see it again. These horror movies, they can get the one viewing and be fine because they're going to make the money back. But the bigger movies always rely on the multiple viewings.
Right.
And we've said that since some of the Star Wars stuff. I mean, Scott, you've always gone like Star Wars, you were going like 10 times to see these things.
Oh, yeah.
The last couple, they tanked so bad that they were small. I mean, Rogue One, which is my favorite of the current Lucasfilm stuff. I saw that probably 5 times in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd probably go see that again because I enjoyed that one so much. It's such a great film. Same thing with this. But even Endgame, I think I saw it. Problem with Endgame is it's 3 hours long. It's tough to budget realistically. If it's a 3-hour movie, you're budgeting 5 hours of your day to go see it.
Right.
Between driving there and then driving home and
But even that, I saw 3 or 5 times. I can't remember.
I saw that a
looking
couple
back,
times. But
yeah.
And that's the thing with these horror movies. Typically they're hour and a half, so you can easily go see them. It's just if it's really good, you want to go see it, or you want to say, hey, did you see this? Oh, I want to go. And it's just like you were saying with the Terrifier. Yeah. You're dragging your friend to see it who hasn't seen it yet, just to see them squirm when you squirmed, and things like that. So that's what they get.
And then pretend you didn't squirm when you saw it by yourself.
Yeah. I didn't piss myself.
Before we left, Brady and I let's just go grab something to eat and watch a movie. And we really wanted to go see the new Brad Pitt racing movie, but it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long. Mm-hmm. And we're like, well, you know what? Hey, I know what you did last summer is out. It's an hour and 40. I'm like, that'd be fun. So we went and watched that. Good movie, not great. But it was fun. Mm-hmm. And it was fun nostalgia, right? And we watch it. You get to the end. It has a great post-credit scene. Totally set up for another movie, right? And I'm like, that was good. And Bernie's like, yeah, it was fun. It was just a fun experience. But it was an hour and a half long movie.
Yeah.
It was easy to fit in our schedule. We went and watched it. So I looked up the numbers afterwards, and I'm like, man, they really set this up for another movie. Do they really think they're going to do well enough to do another movie? Mm-hmm. It cost $18 million to make that movie. They made $25 million in the first week.
Yeah.
So it's going to make 50, and people are going to be like, well, that movie didn't do that much. Well, after it streams and it does all these other things, it did. It made plenty of money. And guess who's behind that movie as well as everything else? Blumhouse. In one way, shape, form, or another. And every preview before that was their movies.
Yeah.
So,
and then every year around Halloween time, some streaming service is going to contract to license it to stream on their service during Halloween and stuff.
And see, that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that we have the streaming now. And I'm going to use what I did last week. Last Wednesday, I went to the Henry Ford. That's in Dearborn, Michigan. On the largest screen in Michigan, I saw a screening of the movie Rad from 1987. And they had a Q&A afterwards. It was with I'm blanking on it. It's Robert Schwartzman, and his dad's the one that produced it. His mom's Talia Shire. His brother's Jason Schwartzman for all the movies. He's an actor, and he has a company that restores films, does cleanup, upgrades, stuff like that. So he did this because they own the rights to Rad, and this is a movie that didn't do well in the theaters in the 80s, but did huge numbers on VHS and then eventually cable, and to the point that the family. I mean, if you went and saw this. Sold out theater for this movie that was not a huge hit. Mm-hmm. And when you're looking at people on there, you had guys like me and you had guys that were slightly younger than me, but they were bringing their kids and grandkids see this movie they love. Is it the greatest movie ever? No, but it's just that nostalgia fun. And when you're a kid in the 80s, BMX riding was one of the things you just loved doing. And to see a kid that could have been you that goes on and does the stuff you enjoy. That's why it was a hit for a lot of us. And of course, back then we couldn't just get to the theater all the time. We didn't have all the multiplexes everywhere. We had some here and there, but just again, they were always few and far between in some areas. But to have it on VHS and that's what we got now is people go see the theaters and it's the streaming that's taken off. So people say, "Oh, it's not a successful movie." Well, it doubled its stuff in the box. Yeah, but what else? The streaming they get paid. They'll still sell some Blu-ray DVDs, even though it's not as much. And then they move on. Yep, there's Rad right there.
There's Rad.
And you watch it, and some of the stuff's corny, some of the lines. And what's funny about it is because you've got what's her name from Full House there. She went to do that afterwards.
Rebecca Remain's name? Wait, no.
No.
Rebecca Remain. No, what was her name? She was the one that was caught up in the college scandal.
You should be right there. Yeah.
Let's see. Let me pull it up.
Lori, whatever. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Lori Loughlin.
Yeah, Lori Loughlin. Because what's funny is there's a scene in that now that everybody laughed, and nobody really laughed too hard, but everybody's chuckling in the theater because he's talking about, he's supposed to take his SATs that day. She goes, "Well, my sister postponed for 6 months and it didn't hurt her." And I'm going to go, "Well, yeah, you probably wrote a fucking check for it."
Right.
But it's funny now, 40 years later, with her scandal that she went to jail for.
Yeah.
For that character to say that back then. But yeah, it's
that reminds me of a funny bit by Bill Burr. Did you talking about that scandal when he was on Conan? He's like, everyone talks about how wrong it is that they paid to get their kids in, but nobody talks about the fact that they paid to get their kids in to Harvard and stuff, but they did fine once they were in. So
what's it matter? Right?
Evidently, Harvard's not that hard.
That's a good point. What's it matter?
Yeah, that was the funny thing. They all actually were passing and doing well in the classes.
Right.
They just had to pay extra to get in there. That whole scandal thing.
But he's like, "Conan, you went to Harvard, didn't you?"
What's funny about that whole scandal, real quick, is we've seen this in movies over the years and TV shows, and you've heard about it. Is you've got Joe Schmo, billionaire, millionaire, and he goes, "Yeah, I'd like my kid to go here. He doesn't do that well, but I would like to put my name on that building, and here's a check."
Right.
So it's like it's nothing new. They just the way they went about certain things it was, but
if you go back to the streaming, what you were talking about, how they make money on the back end.
Yeah.
Think about this. And I laughed because we went home and talked to the kids and told them, "Do they know about I Know What You Did Last Summer?" No. So I'm sure it's streaming everywhere. It always is, right? It's nowhere.
Yeah.
The only place it's on is Amazon. You have to pay $3.99 to watch it.
Yeah.
Before this movie came out, it was everywhere. You could watch it on 20 different places, right?
Right.
So they went out, they pulled it from every other avenue, put it on Amazon because they know people are going to just see that and they're going to want to go and watch the old movie.
Right.
And the original studio's getting a cut and the new studio's getting a cut because they're drawing people to that. Yeah. So now they're going to make $1 million or whatever, probably more, off of people watching the old movies that everybody's pretty much forgotten about now. Scream did the exact same thing.
Yep.
All the Scream movies were everywhere you wanted to watch. And then the new movies started coming out. You couldn't find them anywhere. You had to go back and rent them. Mm-hmm. The new Final Destination did well. Yeah. So you go back, you can't find anything but the first movie. The other ones you have to pay for. Yeah. So they know what
that ties back into the fan base being so loyal too. They know with how long these series have been, they're tapping into a new younger audience. Yep. And by switching it to that, they know that audience is going to want to pay to see it. And I think a big part of that, though, is because horror has never gone high-end special effects, it doesn't seem as dated watching an old horror movie as it does watching an old sci-fi movie. You turn on you watch the old Friday the 13th movies, those hold up better than the old 1980s sci-fi movies.
Yeah, true. True.
So I think a younger fan trying to watch a 1980s sci-fi, like Space Pirates, I think for them it's like painful. Like, oh my gosh, what am I watching here? Uh-huh. But you watch old Friday the 13th, it holds up still.
Yeah, there's something to be said with that.
Yep, that's where just the simple scares, things like this have to be the constant CGI gore and everything else. So but the last Final Destination did have a fair amount of CGI, green screen stuff.
Yeah.
But even then, they did a lot more in between of practical stuff that was just as much.
That was the very special effects driven.
Yeah.
And that one cost a lot more than the rest. I think
Right.
that one cost like $25 million to make. But they swung big, but it made $80 million already in the theaters.
Yeah.
So it's done well.
Just good. Yeah.
But it had a good story.
Yeah.
They went back and said, what can we do to reignite the genre, the franchise, and still tell a good movie? And Scream did the same thing and brought back that, which the new Scream movies are fantastic. I think they're great. I think they're just as good as the originals. We went back and watched all the Scream movies now, Brandy and I, because we've forgotten a lot of it. Luckily we have the box and we don't have to worry about it. We don't pay for anything. But I would have. I'm just saying, I would have.
Yeah.
I mean, to pay, if you're going to pay $20
Yeah.
and watch 5 movies, I would do that.
Yeah.
I want to watch all 5 of them. $20 is nothing, and the kids are going to think the same thing. $20, that's a coffee. Or
Yeah.
Nowadays it is.
right?
At least a hamburger.
Well, speaking of good story, we can wrap up with this because it's already hitting that time. Definitely check out our bardstone.com, which we were set up here for. Our Crimson Shadows, our Poe Macabre. We've got Last Light. I've got the classic stuff I've done between Carl, The Expendables, Boomtown Scabs. So we've got a lot of great stuff through our Bardstone empire that all 3 of us have built and continue to build and work on and everything else. So those that are out here for the show, for San Diego, if you see us, come out and find us there. Always watch for any other appearances. I know next month we're in Colorado Springs. I'll be at the Monroe Comic-Con in September for those that are Michigan, Ohio local, Indiana local, want to come out and see me and haven't seen me in a while. But we work some new stuff, and we'll be announcing some new Kickstarters come this fall.
Awesome.
Because I should have my book done and ready to go for trade, and I definitely want to get that going. So, but other than that, anything else you got going on, man?
Nothing to talk on here, but off air, I just want to update you in light of a new horror I created.
Okay.
That'll be off screen with you guys.
There's a little tease.
Little tease for down the road. Actually, along the lines of we didn't plan this conversation today, but along the lines of what we were just talking about, I've got a new horror.
I'm always told by the
I'm
feedback that these are the best shows we do when we just have nothing scheduled. We just start BSing the whole time. So, hey, I would say go ahead and run the credits, and we'll talk here in a minute, Scott.
All right. Take care, everyone. If now I got to find where to do this. Here we go.
Just click the end stream, and then it should do the...
Yeah. Here we go.